안녕하세요. Hi everyone. This is Haley, the Ice Blaster from PSU Edu Center. 여러분, 아이스브레이킹이 뭔지 아시죠? 편한 분위기를 만드는 걸 아이스브레이킹이라고 한다고 하는데 저는 그보다 더 파워풀한 아이스 블라스터이에요. 즉, 그만큼 편안한 수업 분위기를 조성하고 또 SAT 라이팅으로 받은 모두의 스트레스를 확실하게 깨뜨려 드릴게요. 오늘의 강의 내용은 Introduction to the SAT Writing이에요. So first, I would like for us to take a look at the structure of the SAT. The writing section is comprised of three parts. The first is the essay section and two multiple choice sections. But for today, I would like to talk specifically about the multiple choice questions. Like I said, there are two sections in the multiple choice part, and the first section is comprised of three question types. They are improving sentences, identifying errors, and improving paragraphs. The second section is comprised totally of improving sentences. Now I'll tell you what the questions actually look like for each part. Okay, in the improving sentences question type, you're looking for the improved version of the sentence. For those of you who aren't familiar with the SAT, choice A is always a repeat of the underlined portion. So if you can see here, the red underlined part here, this is the underlined portion, so you don't really necessarily have to look at choice A if you read the whole question before. Now the answer to this is choice D, but if you want to know why, I'll just keep listening to the lecture. Now the second type of question is identifying errors. You'll be given a sentence with underlined words and have choices from A to E. E is a no error answer choice. In this type of question, you're trying to look for the grammatically incorrect choice. Some of you guys become hesitant when you begin to think that no error is the answer, but don't be so hesitant because no error is correct 1/5 of the time. In this question, question A is the answer. We'll get to the third one first. Third one is the improving paragraphs part. You read a short passage and answer 6 questions regarding the style, organization, and clarity of the passage. It's not testing you on grammar. Now that you've understood the basic structure of the SAT writing, we should go on to how we'll tackle the SAT writing. We have the solution. We have a mind map just for you. So if you come to PSU, we'll be giving you this mind map, and with this mind map, you'll be able to tackle the SAT much more easily. Now we'll get into the nitty-gritty details. Today I'm going to talk about the 3 most common types of errors in the SAT writing section. The first is the subject-verb agreement, second will be the noun agreement, and the third is the pronoun agreement. Let's go on to the subject-verb agreement. Now what you see here, let's read the sentence together. The Italian city, long heralded as one of the most romantic in the world, thanks to its charming canals, are facing ruin. 자, 여기서 컴마가 보이시죠? You see the comma after the city, and you see another comma after the word canal. 자, 여기 comma 사이에는 we call this an interjection 혹은 a non-essential clause. What this means is 이게 뭘 갑자기 이렇게 껴 넣는 건데 이거는 부연 설명을 해주기 위해서, in other words, to modify, 수식을 해주기 위해서 이렇게 넣은 수식 부분이에요. 그러면 이 부연 설명 부분은 우리는 항상 생략하고 읽어보는 연습을 계속 해보도록 할 거예요. So if we take out this part and start reading the phrase, the Italian city are facing ruin, it's easier to identify what the noun is and what the verb is. So 여기서의 noun은 뭐냐 하면은 the Italian city가 noun이죠. 자, 여기는 singular인가요? plural인가요? The noun is a singular noun. So, let's look at the verb now. The verb here is are facing. So, the Italian city, since this is a singular noun, 저희는 verb도 singular verb로 가야겠죠. 하지만 지금은 choice A가 are facing이 아닌 is facing이 돼야 되니까 A는 생략하시고, 그리고 저번 lecture 때 제가 한 말 기억해요? being이 들어가면 항상 피해라. 그래서 choice E is being faced with ruin. 이것도 과감히 버리셔도 돼요. Now we go on to the inverted subject-verb agreement. 보통 subject-verb agreement는 아주 쉽다고들 해요. noun이랑 verb를 찾기가 되게 쉬우니까. 근데 inverted subject-verb agreement로 가면 학생들 대부분이 subject랑 verb를 찾는 걸 어려워하는 경우가 있어서 그 예를 한번 들어주려고 해요. 자, 봅시다. Along the Loop Canal in Nebraska extends many lakes, parks, and trails owned and operated by the Loop Power District. 자, 주어랑 동사를 한번 찾아보세요. Did you find it? What I make the students do is to try to paraphrase the sentence into a more familiar form where the subject comes in front of the verb. Here, I paraphrased it for you guys. Many lakes, parks, and trails owned and operated by the Loop Power District extends along the Loop Canal in Nebraska. Now do you see the verb and the subject? 그래요. 자, 여기서는 subject가 여기서는 many lakes, parks, and trails라는 compound subject죠. 자, 많은 게 복합적 주어라고 보시면 돼요. 근데 지금 우리의 주어는 singular or plural? 자, many lakes, parks, and trails니까 당연히 복수 형태겠죠. 자, 그러면 extend가 여기서 우리의 동사인데 지금 여기서 동사 뒤에 s를 붙여서 singular verb가 되어버렸네요. 자, 제대로 된 verb는 s가 빠진 extend겠죠. 그래서 이거를 extend로 이렇게 고쳐주시면 됩니다. Okay, so let's look at the noun agreement. Jenny and Robert want to become a scientist when they grow up. 여기서의 주어가 누구죠? Jenny and Robert. They are compound subject, right? So this is a plural noun. So when we say Jenny and Robert want to become a scientist, they're both wanting to become scientists, but a scientist means just one person. So we want to change that into Jenny and Robert want to become scientists in a plural form. Now we go on to the second example. The Wikipedia has joined the encyclopedia as favorite sources for research. Now, what is the main subject here? We're talking about how Wikipedia joined encyclopedia. In this form, Wikipedia is the main subject. So we're talking about just one source. But in here, the Wikipedia has joined the encyclopedia as favorite sources for research. Now this already turned into a plural form, and we want to keep that singular. So it should be, the Wikipedia has joined encyclopedia as a favorite source for research. Okay? Now the pronoun agreement. In the pronoun agreement, it's comprised of singular versus plural, missing antecedent, and ambiguous antecedent. We're going to look at the most simplest form, which is pronoun agreement. Now the example here says, if one wants to avoid insects, you should refrain from leaving crumbs lying on the floor. Now we started with the pronoun one. We shouldn't suddenly change that into a you. So it should be, if one wants to avoid insects, one should refrain from leaving crumbs lying on the floor. You get it? Like the sentence always has to be in a parallel structure, always flow in the same direction, okay? Now we go on to the pronoun agreement, singular versus plural. Let's look at an example here. A person who wishes to become an Olympic athlete must devote virtually all of their time to training. Who is the subject here? The subject is a person, right? But a person is a singular form, but here in this example, it suddenly says virtually all of their time. Now there is a plural form, so we want to keep the person singular form in a constant flow. So it should be, a person who wishes to become an Olympic athlete must devote virtually all of his or her time to training. Now his or her is a singular form, so that works. Now we're going to look at another example of the pronoun agreement, singular versus plural. Okay, the example here says, people who wish to become an Olympic athlete must devote virtually all of their time to training. Check what the subject is. The subject is people. They want to become Olympic athletes. Now, all of them want to become athletes, not just one person. We're talking about people here in a plural form. So do you see the mistake in this sentence? It should be people who wish to become Olympic athletes in a verb in a plural form must devote virtually all of their time to training. So you keep seeing how we have to keep this singular or plural form in a constant form. Now we go on to the missing antecedent. Example, because of extreme weather conditions, Starvation exists in some countries where they must struggle to stay alive. Okay, you see the red word they. What does they refer to anyways? Well, we don't know because it never came out in the front. So right now we have two subjects, starvation and countries, right? But starvation is a singular form, so they must not be referring to starvation. And we have countries. Yes, countries is a plural form, but in here, starvation exists in some countries where they must struggle to stay alive. Okay, let's think about this. Who is struggling to stay alive? People are struggling to stay alive, not the countries. So countries is not the subject that this is modifying. Okay, so stay alive from hunger, the people are trying to do that, so this sentence should be changed to, because of extreme weather conditions, starvation exists in some countries where people must struggle to stay alive. Okay, we look at another example, the missing antecedent. In the report by the committee, it stated that the significant budget cuts would be necessary for the following year. The part at the front, until in the report by the committee, this is a conditional phrase, so it's not really necessary in the sentence. So if you take that out and read it, we should say, it stated that the significant budget cuts would be necessary for the following year, but we really don't know what the pronoun it is referring to. So it should be really clear with what it refers to. It should be changed to, the report released by the committee stated that the significant budget cuts would be necessary for the following year. So what you always have to be careful is if the word it or they comes out, make sure that there is a subject at the front that can modify these two pronouns, okay? Now we go on to the ambiguous antecedent. Now this is a really easy example. Afraid that they would be late for the party, Jenny and Kate decided to take her car rather than to walk. Now we have two people in here, Jenny and Kate, but we have one her. Who is this her referring to? We have no idea. So this should be made clear. This is what we call an ambiguous pronoun. So if we change this, it should be afraid that they would be late for their party, Jenny and Kate decided to take Kate's car, or we could also say decided to take Jenny's car. So we have to just make this pronoun really clear and make sure that we know what this pronoun is referring to. Okay, so we're finishing up for today. The most frequent writing errors in the SAT were subject-verb agreement, noun agreement, and pronoun agreement. And the next step to do all of this really well is to just practice, practice, practice. You know that practice makes perfect. And come to PSU Edu Center so that you can learn from our great teachers here. Thank you.